This video is brought to you by Supercharger, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world. They are also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage with microgrid solutions. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video, and welcome to an episode I thought I would never be making. So I'm sure by now most of you who are viewers of this channel have heard the news. Tesla has let go almost the entire charging team. And I want to talk about the impacts of this in the short term and perhaps the ripple effects into the future for the whole charging industry, an industry we cover very closely here on this channel. Not only do we review cars, but we talk about charging infrastructure. And this is maybe one of the biggest blows to electric vehicle adoption that I've seen in many years. And I think a lot of people are confused, including me, and so I thought I would just share my thoughts with you. We've also produced an Out of Spec podcast episode that went up right as the news broke yesterday, and with some initial thoughts, but now I've received quite literally hundreds of messages from people in the charging industry, those that were affected, those that work at other companies, such as other automakers that have agreed to sign on with Tesla, and I'm going to share some of the overall general sentiment about what's happening right now at the end of April 2024. But all I can tell you is the people that made it possible to do this and plug in and charge no longer work at Tesla, which is crazy, as this was Tesla's most important side of the business from my side. So that's what we're talking about in today's episode. Well, to be honest, I'm not even sure how to do this video because charging is something that we have covered so closely. We've loved charging and it's enabled so many road trips, and honestly, a lot of out of specs coverage has started around charging. And I think it's pretty clear that the Supercharger network is not just getting shut down, unplugged, condemned. And as far as I understand it, the nice thing is all of the maintenance technicians that will maintain and upkeep the Supercharger network are still there. And so as a current owner of a Tesla and other vehicles that now have access to the Supercharger network, such as the Rivian R1T that I drive very often, I'm feeling pretty confident that I can still have access to all the charging points that I had access to yesterday. And I'm pretty confident that they will be maintained. However, the whole industry, including me, was pushing so hard to make NACS a thing, to get automakers on board with the honestly much better plug type, with a charging network that seemed to have no real competition, in the sense that this could have been a monopoly of just chargers everywhere, and an insane amount of new chargers coming online. Even recently, up until recently, Tesla has had an exponential increase in new charging locations. And of course, with version 4 chargers right on the horizon and Magic Dock sites being rolled out even more frequently, I thought, damn, who can even come close to Tesla? And just as it seemed from the outside looking in that the whole Tesla supercharging team had it together, they had future plans, Tesla supercharging employees tweeting, posting only days before everyone was let go, this is just the beginning, watch and see what we're gonna do. We hear the news that, at least originally the news was, the Tesla basically dissolved the entire charging team, which consists of around 500 people. I'm not sure what the exact number of people are affected, but I do know it's a lot, and it comes as a huge shock to us and the industry. So I think let's start there. Let's talk about the initial reactions. I'm just going to pull up a few messages and a few trends that I've been seeing online about this particular issue. The first thing I've noticed is a lot of commentary by Tesla shareholders, Tesla enthusiasts, and Elon fanboys. I certainly never bring up, I review cars and not people and not companies. I've been saying that a lot the last couple days because this is out of my wheelhouse to comment on something like this. However, the one thing I've noticed from a lot of prominent accounts on Twitter, a lot of which I agree most of the time with what they say, and I'm friends with a lot of these people, they went from supercharger networks are increasing hardcore, this is the profit center for Tesla, this is what's changing the entire EV industry, to now saying, oh, actually, no new sites coming, we don't need superchargers anyway. Most people charge at home. I'm like, what is going on with these people? So there's a general shift in conversation, and it mostly comes from a tweet that Elon tweeted, and I want to read it verbatim to you. So if I come over here to his account, Elon says, this is 19 hours ago, at least at the time of this recording, Tesla still plans to grow the Supercharger network, which is great. So there still will be new chargers coming in, they claim, just at a slower pace for new locations, which to me sounds like a lot of the sites that were in the pipeline that were going to be coming, perhaps even the NEVI sites, which is a topic I was going to do a whole video on coming soon, but now maybe no one's even there to watch it. But a slower pace for new locations, and then a more of a focus on 100% uptime and expansion of existing locations. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about that expansion of new locations versus creating new charging stations, because 100% uptime is great. Tesla already has some of the best uptime in the industry, and pretty much it's very rare to find a supercharging handle that's not working. There are bugs, there are issues, and I think that brings me to what may have caused Tesla to do this. There have been bugs and issues with superchargers since the beginning. I remember early version 2 days, we used to have to wrap these handles with wet rags so we could get faster charging. That's happening again with Cybertruck on version 3. Version 4 chargers we have not even seen one yet. We don't even know what the specifications of that charger will be. And so perhaps there was some frustration about, okay, is version 4 not happening as soon as Elon was expecting, or executives at Tesla were expecting? I'm not totally sure. There were also interoperability bugs where occasionally Cybertruck wouldn't charge if you plugged in at a low state of charge above 35 kilowatts. It would basically limit you to 100 amps. And, the list goes on and on. They don't have a high voltage charging network to interface with all the vehicles they've just opened up the network to. So Taycan and Ioniq 5 and other high voltage vehicles, Lucid, would have to use onboard boosters or split pack in order to interface natively with the Tesla Supercharger network. These were all issues. But I think, yes, while they had a bunch of issues and while we were right there showing the issues, of course, I think if they had a version 4 network, the Cybertruck may have won the coast to coast race across the country. It's very possible. Even with all those issues, Tesla superchargers are still the clear choice for EV drivers because of the maintenance and reliability of the hardware. So again, these are just speculations, but perhaps the team was let go from the hardware just not keeping up with modern day vehicles, not being 800 volt or even 1000 volt compliance, which means technically, in my mind, they should never have received NEVI funding, or should be about to receive NEVI funding for any site, because there was a loophole in the NEVI wording that said if you support a voltage range within 250 to 950 volts, I forget what the low end is, then you technically qualify. And Tesla was like, oh, but we support up to 500 volts. That's within the range. But in the spirit of the NEVI law is you need to support any voltage range natively from, low 200 volts up to 950 or whatever the exact numbers are. And so Tesla was gonna get NEVI funding for chargers that, in my mind, did not meet the requirements of the law. And for the funding. So this was another topic that could have led to it. So those to me all seem like little issues and little things that are easily fixable with such an incredible engineering team such as Tesla. Not enough to just say everyone's fired. I don't think anyone could even come up with a rational reason as to why this is the case. Hopefully we'll learn more, maybe in an interview or on earnings calls. I'm not sure as to why this happened. But here's what people are saying in the industry. The first thing that hit me hard was actually a friend of mine reached out yesterday, and I just want to pull it up here. And he had mentioned this. He works for a utility that supports a lot of infrastructure, maybe even including this site. I don't know, probably not. And basically, this was just like dude, what the heck is going on? And he said, this is someone responsible for a lot of high power charging sites from the utility side. 100% of my contacts at Tesla are gone. I emailed everyone this morning and got all bounces. We have X number of sites in design and construction and another X number of sites, I'm not saying the exact number, in preliminary capacity checks, and no one knows who to contact. We're talking well over 20 sites here. 20 future sites that are already, the utility has to spend a lot of money to bring power there, millions of dollars they're laying out in hopes that Tesla will, of course, and in the trust that Tesla will put in high power charging stations for them. He said that's about 20 megawatts of supercharging sites in limbo. So that's a lot of money that the utility is putting in, and he can't even get anyone to answer. He doesn't even know who to call. That's one side of it. The other side of it, I think, the one that really screws the industry, that is going to lose trust in a lot of automakers, is what I received a message from another friend of mine who works hardcore, very involved, from the automaker and charging division. What I received from him is, it's a big mess. The US OEMs seem to be in shock, and some of the Germans are having board discussions to roll back to CCS1. That's crazy. That means that the North American charging standard SAE J3400 is in question now over automakers' complete lack of trust in Tesla. And you can't repair this that quickly. I'm just going to paraphrase a little bit, but basically the promises of high power version 4 rollout is behind schedule for the other OEMs. And with the team gone, no one knows how they can come back on track. The 100% J3400 commitment is certainly gone now. We will have to see. This is crazy and even more disruptive than the NACS commitment from Ford. From a vehicle automaker perspective, from a user perspective, this may have, that transition to J3400 to NACS was amazing, and we all pushed super hardcore for it. We all put our trust into Tesla. We all said, you have to support everyone, and this is the way forward to make a single standard. It's the USB-C of charging cars, and this is what's good for the industry moving forward. Now it sounds like certainly some companies are just going to walk away from that. And of course, time will tell. A lot of the comments now are reactionary. This is a big shock, but they can't even get phone calls into people at Tesla that they've been working with. So the situation right now is not looking good. A lot of new sites are in question. A lot of future plans as to what's going to happen with the rollout are completely unknown. The strategy for the charging network is certainly unknown. Other automakers that have committed to NACS, well, that's in question now as well. And this is maybe, like I mentioned, the largest shakeup that I've seen in a long time. Okay, so that's everything that's happened up to this point. Future predictions, speculation. What does this mean for the rest of the industry? Well, this is where I'm really curious to see you guys in the comments. What's next? Certainly there are now 500 or 300 or hundreds of people, I don't know the exact number, of very talented, hardworking, driven, really passionate about the electric vehicle industry folks that are now out trying to go to get a job on the open market. I know many of them, and I've already had some conversations with some of them. Hopefully soon we'll be able to get some on the Out of Spec podcast and not necessarily talk about the letting go, but like just what does the industry look like? Can the charging industry absorb hundreds of people? I don't know. Some people say no. Other friends of mine, I talked to Brandon Flash about this quite a bit. He says absolutely yes, the charging industry needs it. And this might be a good thing to decentralize our nation's charging infrastructure into the future. There are some potential positive benefits moving forwards. There's new charging companies like Iona, which we've of course reported on. That is the automaker consortium around building out a high power charging network with thousands of charging ports, really going full send. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of Tesla people go over to Iona. Perhaps even hardware manufacturers like ChemPower, Alpitronic, Autel, et cetera, X-Charge, you name it. I'm sure there will be some talented individuals that can go here or there to some spots. There are other install companies that are really great with infrastructure. If you guys remember when we covered the Mercedes charging hub network, that was a Mercedes, ChargePoint, and MN8 collaboration. Emanate's a fantastic company that is very skilled at building infrastructure. And that is what one of Tesla's key advantage points were. They had the people that knew the local regulators. They had the people that knew how to deploy sites. Look at prefabricated supercharger units, how quickly they can slap them in the ground. Really a first for the industry. And a lot of those skills will translate to companies like Emanate, Win Marion, Owl Services, etc. So ultimately, what it means is we now have a bunch of people that are going to flood the industry. I'm sure it's not going to be easy for everyone. I'm sure those with the most connections should be okay. I'm, of course, a resource, and I ask anyone who has job openings to let me know. I will then share that on LinkedIn and social media with the people that I know that are looking for jobs that were let go through this one. But it's tough. And, you know, layoffs happen, but I've never seen layoffs happen quite like this, right in the middle of, right at the beginning of when this was going to become really the star child of Tesla, just to end it all. It seems crazy. Okay, so let's talk about the future plans. Elon mentioned they are also going to work on upgrading existing sites. Now, a site like this may make sense to upgrade. This is an older version 2 supercharger. If you can take a walk with me over here, I just want to take a look at the capacity at this site. This is the Loveland supercharging site, local to our house here in northern Colorado. And let's see what we have going on. Well, we have some switch gear, we have the version 2 cabinets over here, and we have a 750 kVA transformer. Now, in theory, this probably could feed 2 version 3 supercharging cabinets, which would mean if you rip out all of these 10 stalls, you could replace with 8 version 3 superchargers, plus or minus. Because again, each cabinet feeds 4 dispensers. The thing is, though, if they want to upgrade this site, it's almost the same process as building a new site. They then have to call our local utility who's responsible for the site, probably Xcel, I'm not sure. But then they have to go through and get new transformers. Well, new transformers take a long time. Xcel just lost a lot of trust, or I'm not sure if Xcel did, but I'm sure a lot of utilities lost a lot of trust in Tesla over this if they don't stay up with their commitments to building new sites. And are they going to just be like, you know what, you're now at the bottom of the list for new transformers, and we'll see if we can upgrade you or not? Because keep in mind, most Tesla charging sites are not built with upgradability in mind. They're built for the current amount of stalls that are in there. They certainly have done it in past. I remember Raleigh had some provisions for some expansion, but it's pretty rare to see that. So which means is if you have an existing site and you're going to upgrade it with either version 3 or adding more stalls, because again, a lot of Tesla current locations are amazing, but one of the benefits of owning an electric car is there's just more places day by day that you can go. To upgrade a current site is almost the same process as just building a new one. The costs won't be too different. Yeah, you already have a relationship with the folks that you're leasing the land from, or maybe Tesla owns the land in some cases. But it's not gonna be like, oh yeah, just add a few more chargers. You have to go through and redig, rerun conduit, upgrade transformers, the exact same process you would have to do for building a new site. So I'm not sure I believe that as being like a really good strategic business model going forwards. Perhaps it will be, and they can prove me wrong. I'm all for more charging and more reliable charging and faster charging whenever possible. I think a lot of existing sites are great. Maybe it's not a bad idea, but I still don't fully understand the whole let's just slow down the rollout of the network. Slowing down the rollout of the network puts distrust in the automakers who have just signed on with Tesla. They're scrambling right now. Owners, certainly those that are not just, you know, shareholders or whatever, I don't know, real owners who drive places, who like to go explore. There are still many gaps not covered by the supercharger network. There's still long distances, long stretches, places that need more infrastructure. And of course, in urban areas, there needs to be a ton more infrastructure, especially as EVs become more popular with apartment dwellers and condo renters, etc. So I'm just confused. I'm sure you guys are as well. And, you know, I hope everyone that was let go finds a good spot and is okay. From a EV owner's perspective, I think we're okay for the time being. I don't think we're going to feel the effects of this for another 6 months or a year. something like that, that's when we'll really see if this was a good or bad decision. It's just wild that this is happening now. We're going to mostly report on these topics on the Out of Spec podcast, but I had to bring my thoughts to you here in this video. So stay tuned to the Out of Spec podcast. Thanks for watching this one. Please let me know in the comments what you guys think, because I've received comments on every side of the table here saying this is a great decision, all the way to this is confusing and dumb and I don't understand it. That's more my side of the boat right now. I really don't understand this, and it's been the biggest shock to the charging industry in years. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.